Hello, I'm Valentin Mandace from Historic Houses of Romania, and I would like to speak about wood burning stoves and more special ones from the Ottoman era of Romania. The Romanian lands have been dominated by the Ottoman Empire in different periods, let's put it that way, in its different principalities. Romania is roughly composed of three principalities: Moldavia in the east, Wallachia in the south, and these were the most under the Ottoman Empire for 450, nearly 500 years, and Transylvania, which was for a shorter period, and then Transylvania was much less Ottoman influence. The most important Ottoman influence, and the deepest one, which is still around in a way because it imprinted the local psyche, local psychology, is in the 18th century, which is called the Phanariot era. Phanariots were the local governors, Christian governors. That was the treaty with the Ottoman Empire of the Romanian principalities to maintain autonomy at the frontier. They had to have Christian rulers, so the Ottomans sent Christian Greeks from Constantinople, from Istanbul, from the Phanar quarter, which was the Greek quarter. So that is the Phanariot period in the long 18th century in the south and east of Romania. And the houses, obviously, were looking very much like in the rest of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman kind of architecture, domestic architecture. A very interesting feature in such a house is obviously the wood burning stove, which acquired a certain shape and specificity in the Romanian lands of the Ottoman Empire. So in what was then Wallachia, Principality of Wallachia and Moldavia. Let's see unusual Ottoman wood burning stove, or rather fireplace. The Ottoman lands are more southern, more meridional, Mediterranean, so the fireplace is much more useful and feasible for that kind of climate, Mediterranean climate. As you see over here, this is a grand room in the Khan's palace in Crimea. Crimea, although it's a bit north of Wallachia, it has more Mediterranean climate because it's sheltered by the Crimean mountains from the Siberian winds, so it has a nearly Mediterranean Grecian kind of climate. So wood burning stoves were rather fireplaces, and they were looking something like this, which is quite an interesting shape. It's like a tent, the shape of a tent, and the fireplace, the fire being burnt here and the smoke going up on the chimney, more like the Western fireplaces, but with this kind of shape, like a tent or like a mosque mihrab. The Romanian lands of Wallachia and Moldavia obviously are much more to the north, and they need a much more efficient way of burning wood. And that much more efficient way of burning wood is a wood burning stove. But here we have a land which is not very economically prosperous, so they do not have access to the normal construction materials for a wood burning stove, which is brick and majolica. On the other hand, the Transylvanians were much more prosperous, especially the Saxon lands, and they had such fireplaces. One is a typical Saxon one. Now is at the Brand Castle in Transylvania, in the Saxon lands. You have majolica. The structure is from brick and whitewashed, some structures which were at the base and on top. In the south and east, it wasn't this luxury, so they had to do with materials at hand. Even the brick was very expensive. So what the locals used was cob, adobe. So they made the wood burning stoves mostly from cob, or interlaced with some brick, and plastered with again cob, and whitewashed. A nice example is at Casa Hagi Prodan in Ploiești. Even the name sounds Turkish, Ottoman. And this is the kitchen wood burning stove. As I said, it's made from sun-dried bricks intercalated with the usual bricks, burned bricks, plastered again with cob and whitewashed. This is a wood-burning stove of southern Romania and also very much used in eastern Romania, Principality of Moldavia. I have to say that I grew up with a wood-burning stove in this manner. My grandparents had one in what they call the winter kitchen. And it was very traditional among people of their age. So it was a kind of echo of the Ottoman times, and I bet that there are some in the Romanian peasant houses throughout former Wallachia and Moldavia, unfortunately now destroyed wholesale. So this is how it used to look. More elaborated ones were reserved for the bedrooms. For example, the bedroom at Hagi Prodan house in Ploiești. It looks like this. It's much more elaborated, but it's a basic one made from sun-dried bricks and normal bricks intercalated and having this kind of more Barockish form, let's put it that way. Another one is from another former Ottoman house, 1840s, Casa Caragiale is the museum there, but another Ottoman house, again elaborated, made from the same materials. They're very picturesque and an echo of a long forgotten era. These wood-burning stoves, they were replaced wholesale, even as in the countryside they are replaced now in the urban environment in the mid-19th, towards the late 19th century, with majolica wood-burning stoves. Like this one's in Târgoviște. It's a very elaborated one at the prefecture, but domestic houses, people had this something similar, not so ornate, in their houses. This is because the land becomes more prosperous with independence, the locals are able to export grains, the monies are available, they can import or have factories of majolica, and this kind of wood-burning stoves appear. Also, there are some more usual ones used by the peasants in the countryside from cast iron. For example, this one is from a village nearby Bucharest, in a kind of fanariot house veranda, boer house veranda, which was used inside the house. Wood-burning stoves made from cast iron, again modern European design, even imported. So I wanted to show you this kind of more esoteric aspect of an interior architecture of a house. The wood-burning stove is very important again as a symbol. It's considered like the sacred place, like the altar of a house. Second after the entrance, the doorway, which is like the entrance in the temple, as symbolism. And these Ottoman era wood-burning stoves made from adobe, from cob and ordinary bricks, whitewashed, are extremely picturesque and also an interesting moment in the evolution of the local architecture, design and way of life. I hope that you like this presentation. We'll see each other as soon as possible. Thank you and goodbye.